Hi all, welcome back to the YouTube channel. Let's start rebooting work using UiPath. As we discussed on our previous session, so we are know how to capture the release ID as well as the robot ID, right? So we are going to use this release ID and then robot ID to run the particular job which you are looking for, okay? So how to do that? So let me try to enable these two things, okay? So which will be useful for us also. So what actually we are going to do now, so we are going to make some orchestrator requests which help us to run our job, okay? So let me drag and drop a sequence over here. In this, let me name it as start job, and then try to provide your orchestrator HTTP request. Let me jump to our UiPath documentation, so where we will be having all the data. So here you can see this is the endpoint which we are going to use in our particular process to start the job, as well as so these are the pre-request data which are going to provide. So some of them are going to be a default one, and some of them we are going to pass it out, okay? So here we are going to pass our release key as well as the job ID which we have captured, okay? So here in the input parameter, so if you are going to have an input parameter to start the job, so someone will be having a placing an input parameter, well, they are going to run the job. So in RDA, usually we'll be having an input parameter, so which help us to run the job. So if you have the process similar to that, so you can directly pass that input argument over here, as well as if you don't have, then no problem. So you can just make it as a blank, so it will be not create any impact or problem. Just be very cautious that you have to provide your release key as well as the robot ID so that your process will be run very smooth without having any issues. So not only this, let me scroll down. So you will be having a couple of examples over here, okay? So you'll be having examples for the argument as well. So you'll be having so many examples. So here, but has provided such a documentation which will help you to understand so how to use this particular request, okay? So here you can see all the input parameters, so how they have defined actually. So you can make use of this, as well as let me walk you through how to utilize these things actually. So let me try to copy this endpoint. So once you copy it, let me jump back to the UI paths. So go to the relative endpoint, try to provide the path, and then just try to create a response over here. Okay, just make a control K, Json Start Job, and then click on enter. So once you created a JSON response, simple. Then you are going to make your method which is into post. So till now we have seen the method which is get, which help us to get the data from the orchestrator, right? So we are going to pass some information to the orchestrator. Okay. So for this, so we are going to change the method as post, and then so we are going to use this Json payload which help us to pass the information to the orchestrator and make it as run. Okay. So let me try to maximize this. So this will be accepting the value as a string. So what are the data which we have to provide over here? So you'll be having question, right? So even that UiPath has provided a documentation. So what are the data need to be passed over here? Okay. So let me try to cancel this. Go to the documentation. So here you can see this is the JSON endpoint which need to be used upon. Okay. So let me try to capture this, copy this, open a notepad and try to paste it over there. Okay. So this is the basic syntax how it actually will be. Okay. So but your JSON response payload will not accept this format. Okay. So we have to make some trims over there. So based upon that, so it will accept this data. Okay. So what actually we are going to do? So we are going to just remove this double quotes. Okay. Just try to remove this double quotes, which you can see here, and then so just try to make it as a single quotes. Okay, the value should be in single quoted, not a double quoted. And then so just try to make this, so this source will be a by default one. Okay, you can directly go ahead and provide this manual only. So the values which is normal, this is also a default one. So if you have parameter, okay, so if you have, let's assume, so you have a parameter, so which need to run the particular process, you can go ahead and provide the parameter. Okay, so let me show you the examples as well here. Let me show that. So here you can see something called as they have passed, right? So we can pass the input argument over here, okay, so which help us to run the particular process. So in RDA, so usually we'll be using this. So to run the particular process, we have to provide the input as a particular config file path or like a input path, so which help us to run the particular job, right? So likewise, this input argument which help you to run the process, so based upon this input. So you can pass the inputs. Otherwise, if you don't have input, no problem. So you can directly provide a open parenthesis and close parenthesis. That's more than enough. So and then so you here you have to pass the process key as well as the robot ID which you already captured. Okay. So and final. So let's make one more computation. So let me try to make it in a single line. So this will be a valid format which the Json payload will accept actually. And try to make it up. Perfect. Let's copy this. Let me go to the UiPath Studio. Just go to the JSON payload, double quotes, and try to provide this particular JSON payload. Okay. So here we are going to pass our release key as well as the robot ID, right? So let me click on OK. And then, so let me try to change the scope of this particular assign activity. Okay. We go there, release key, let me make it as orchestrated HTTP request. So likewise, you should obtain the robot ID as well. So as we already discussed in our previous video, so you have to follow the same methodology to capture the robot ID as well. So I just shown in the screenshot. So you have to capture the ID. Okay. So it will be like this. Okay. So you have to capture the ID and then you have to store it in a variable. So how I kept it here. So you have to create an assign activity and then you have to store which is robot ID and then you have to pass it to the start job. Let me try to open this. Okay. So here we are going to pass the value. So how to do that? So let me make a double quotes. Okay. Inside that plus plus. Okay. Try to call your variable. So what is that? JSON release, right? Perfect. Dot toString. Okay. So once I made toString, so the error is gone, right? So likewise, let's assume. So for time being, what I will do, I'll just try to create a GeoObject robot. Okay, this is kind of a dummy value which I was showing for an example for you. Okay, but you have to capture the data which you have actually. So let me try to assign once again GeoObject robot ID. Okay, so I just naming it as 1 2 3 4. Okay, so for time being. Okay, and then so I just going to explain you how to pass that. Okay, so in your enterprise system you can able to capture this robot ID. So this is very easy actually. So how I had done for the release ID. Okay, so the same pattern, the same steps need to be followed for this as well. Let me go JSON payload and just try to call the variable. Before that, try to change the scope as well for this. So what is the scope for JSON robot ID? Just try to change here to orchestrated HTTP request. Go there, go to the JSON payload. The same thing, so you have to provide a double quotes inside that plus plus. Inside the plus plus, you are going to call your variable, so which is nothing but JObject robot ID, right? Perfect, that's it. And then you have to make dot toString as well. Awesome. So once you have provided toString, the error is gone, right? Perfect. Likewise, you have to pass your job release as well as the robot ID. So based upon this release key and then robot ID, your process will get start run. Okay. So this release key will help you to understand which particular process which need to be run, and then robot ID which help you to understand which particular robot should run this process. So based upon this method, it will automatically understand and it will start the process in the orchestrator. Also, don't forget to make the method as a post method. So in this way, you can go ahead and run your particular job from the studio using this orchestrator HTTP request. I hope you like the video. Thanks for watching. Happy learning. Have a good day.